Right, so first up, we have 5 minutes. These are a series of lightning talks. I'm going to be timing all of them. I have an alarm. I will be dragging people off stage if required. I want to introduce to you Michael.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I would like to show you a small project we did this spring. It's for trial artists, and they have some skills they really need. And that's balance, that's body control, and they really need to know where they jump with their bikes. So we came up with yeah, you can try that at home if you want. So we did a small research. So what do trial artists really need? So they need really good body control. And you can try that at home too if you like. And we said, okay, we need something to do something like this. But if you use a normal interface like a touch screen or, I don't know, buttons, this is not going to work because these bikes are really heavy, and if they fall down, everything will break. So we had to build our own hardware. And I just want to show you what kind of hardware you can build, even though we are not like mechanics or electricians and stuff like this. So what we did, you can see it here, we did 9 plates. All of them were made with a small steel construction. They have touch sensors in it, LEDs for certain gameplays. And we connected them with network cables because we didn't know what cable we should use, and this was really easy to replace if they fall down on it. And then all of these cables go to Arduino. You may know Arduino and have done some projects. It's really fun. And with Bluetooth, we send everything to the iPad. On the iPad, we have an Ionic app on it, which was made with Angular 2. And this way we have like really easy possibilities to make different gameplays for the artists. So I just want to show you some small pictures, how we built the whole thing. We printed the plate, we did all this construction, and in our office it looked like really nerdy. And then we had to print out the 3D plates on the side because the coach for the trial artist said it shouldn't be flat, it's too easy. Yeah, and I think I just show you a demo. And welcome, Michael. So we have now 2 gameplays. You see it here on my iPad or on the screen. I will, let's say, Volltreffer. So what he has to do now, he has to jump always to the targets, which are here. And then we see how many points he gets. Well, sorry. And we used an iPad because if this thing is always in the same place, it's very easy for them. It looks easy, does it? You can try it afterwards if you like. And the whole idea of the project is just, you always have to think outside of the box because sometimes you need to just do something which is a bit different. Thank you.
Start. Oh, there we go. Very exciting start. So next up, we have Fabienne, and she'll be speaking about lists everywhere, or things to keep in mind when designing a list entry.
Don't worry, no sports here.
How many of you are using the app? How many of you have been rating and checking the speakers? Have you rated all the talks from yesterday already? You remember to check it out and make sure that everyone, the organizers, know what you think of the talk so they know what's better to organize for next year as well. How are we doing? Okay, I can tell you about the rest of the talks you can look forward to today. Okay, I can fit one in, After the lightning talks here, we can look forward to seeing Corey speaking. So there we go.
Thank you.
Fabienne.
So as a designer, sooner or later, you're confronted with designing a listing page. We're all good at rattling down list designs. We do it like we've always done it and think it works perfectly. But are our list designs the best they could be? In the next 4.5 minutes, I want to talk about 5 things to consider when designing your next list entry. The elements of a good list entry. Go by this rule. Always give users sufficient product information to accurately evaluate their options without overloading the listing page. Piece of cake. So the first 3 pretty obvious attributes for every good list entry are a thumbnail, a product title, and the price. But there are 3 more. The less expertise users have about a product, the more they rely on user ratings. So do them and yourself a favor and show ratings up front. Variations of a product, like different colors or different materials, are crucial to every list entry. If you do not show variations, users might ignore a list entry, although it exactly fits their needs. And last, always throw in a couple of category-specific attributes. Category attributes help to compare list entries at a glance. Examples could be temperature limits or weight for sleeping bags, but also age ranges for toys. But careful, category attributes always have to be persistent and in the same order, or else list entries are not comparable at all, and this might really backfire. Information hierarchy. Before going into layout design and choosing fancy fonts, always determine the priority order of attributes you want to show. Emphasize your priorities with common visual cues like font weight, font size, and color. And if you're not quite sure what your priorities should be, look at data from your filtering functions and check which filters are used the most. As a further rule of thumb, the topmost and leftmost areas of list entry containers get the most attention. So high priority information should always be placed in these areas. Of course, only if your users read from the left to the right. Placement of thumbnails. In horizontal list entries, we usually put the thumbnail to the left because it's easier and prettier and we don't want to think about that. But the right side might actually be the better option. So ask yourself, does every item on your list have a meaningful image? If no, use right-aligned thumbnails. This way, the user can easily scan the left-aligned titles, and it doesn't matter if an image is lacking or just plain crap. If the answer is yes, go to the next question. Does the image carry more information than the text? If no, use right-aligned thumbnails. And if yes, finally, use your left-aligned thumbnails. Now let's get interactive and talk about synchronized hover effects. User research showed that users are totally overwhelmed by list entries in which they don't know where a click will bring them. To help them use this trick. If you have a simple list entry with links that all lead to the same place, the product page, use synchronized hover effects. So when hovering over, for example, the title, all of your links are visually emphasized, not just the title. Applying a shadow around the list entry container or even changing the background might even make it clearer that every click in this box leads to the same place. So sometimes you have more complex list entries with a lot of links and maybe even functions like a compare or a wishlist button. In this case, group all links that lead to the same place and group all functions. This stresses all the identical paths. This trick is so easy and effective, and it will make users eventually buy your product. Now, last but not least, always test your design, seriously, especially when it's for something that is so important for conversion. Thank you for your attention, and happy list entry designing.
That was some really great top tips. And next up, we have Marcus speaking about the UI he's built to impress his little daughter.
Yes, thank you, Laura. My name is Marcus, and I want to share a story with you about the user interface I have built to impress my little daughter. Actually, I didn't do it for her, but also with her. So it's kind of a parent-child project we are doing. So that's part of the family album. You see already what I try to build. It's a retro game style console. It has a handmade case around it. We all did it by ourselves, and it also has some special feature in it. The console itself focus on one game. It's the famous Donkey Kong, a game that was on hype when I used to be a young man, so some years ago. And this is what the game console does focus on. So now about the motivation that made me, yes, give me that point. Why did I want to build this thing? You know, kids, they have their own vision of the world. They try to find out what's true, what's wrong. So I tried to be that does not know anything, but can fix everything, or at least try to fix everything. So that's the picture I try to show. There was a second motivation to build a really remarkable toy. Now, if you have a kid, or can ask the audience, who is having kids? Who is in charge of being mother or father or grandchildren? Okay, so some of you already might know what I'm talking about. If you have children, you can walk through a street and you see toys getting attached to these children, like magnets. And if you look at toys, you often see cheap plastic. It's so much of heartless things that children get in touch today. So there I wanted to build one thing that is really remarkable for her. And I think there's also a special way that toys are touching us. You know, I mean, I think everybody of you has met Barbie, whether in real life or as a fashion doll. And it's tremendous. Why is that possible? That a toy can go so deep in our minds. And there's also the pendant of her. It's I know it's her man or it's her fiancé. It's called. I know it's Ken. It's okay if you know Barbie and Ken. It's no problem. Some technical insights I want to show you. If you open the cage, you not see that much. It has a Raspberry Pi in it, touch screen, and on a board with that controls the touch screen. And it is on your right down corner the joystick, the driver that converts the input from the joystick to USB. The Raspberry Pi, it has a RetroPie Linux distribution on it, so it really helps you to run emulator that are able to run such retro games. You can put many software packages on it if you want to do some interaction with the touchscreen itself. You have to do some PY game or Chromium node setup. Second part is I also had a Arduino left in my storage, so what I want to do there, I want to control the hardware settings, switch on, power on, off the Raspberry Pi. And I wanted, well, putting children on a equipment like this, it's easy. It's much more difficult to put them away from the game. So my idea is that before she can play, she has to solve some mathematical work that will talk to the Raspberry Pi. He will send the data to the Arduino using USB, and there is an analog display. I showed it on the slide before. It's showing her the remaining game time. So putting children off the electronic device is an endless battlefield, so I hope to solve that in a way. So some advice, you may take it with you or not. Go and build things in real world where there's no undo button. So if you go make hardware, I mean, you can put glue on the wrong side of the piece. That's not so difficult. Okay, am I done? Okay. So do things in real world on no undo button. Paint the world, even if you can't draw, do it. Don't be afraid of hardware. There's many nice foundations that try to keep children onto building things with hardware. Be prepared to do most of this work yourself, because children are children after all. And it will take you more time than you expected. It took me like 1 year to come as far as I did, and time may catch you up, so you can't play Pokemon on it. So it's time of a race. Thank you.
Great, and now we have Memi talking about dynamic A/B testing with AB/CD. Intriguing.
Okay, do we have a clicker? Is this? Ah, okay. Okay. Okay, hi. Hi, I'm going to talk to you about dynamic A/B testing with ABCD. And first, I want to give you a quick reminder what A/B testing is. You divide your users in two groups, Group A and Group B, and show them each one button. In this case, might be something else, might be some different copy. In this case, it is copy. One copy that says buy now, and one copy that says buy now buy for $1,000. The product costs $1,000 on each button, to be clear. It's just one says it and one doesn't. And then you see what works and what not. So if we look at this with a real-life example, or with an example with 1,000 users, you would show 500 users the left button, and 500 users would see the right button, and the conversions would be different. So let's assume you have 3% conversion on the left one and 12% conversion on the right one. That gives you 15 sales on the left one and 60 sales on the right one. That means you make $15,000 from the left one and $60,000 on the right one. That means there's a difference of $45,000, which means finding out which button just cost you $45,000. Now, that's a lot of money. And, well, isn't there a way to get that number down so that you have like less waste or less revenue, more revenue? And there is, and it's called dynamic A/B testing. And this comes from probability theory of multi-armed bandit game things. So it's not invented by me, and there's a sound mathematical basis behind that. And the principles are very easy. There's two rules. The first rule is 10% of the users get a button at random, and 90% get the best button. So the button that performs best. Now, how do we know which button performs best? During the test, as an ongoing, that's why it's called dynamic, you track 3 values for each button. you track how many views, to how many users you have shown it. You track the clicks, how many people clicked on it actually, and of course the ratio, like the conversion rate of the button. So the first, at first every button is equal. You would have one click, one view, and one rate for each. And after the first delivery of the first button, the rate of that button would go down because there is no click. If someone clicks on that, the rate would go up because you would have 2 clicks and 2 views. But at the moment of delivery, the rate goes down. So the next time something is delivered, it's either, in 10% of the cases, it's either button, and in 90% of the cases, it's the second button because it has the highest rate. So after 1,000 users, you would see, okay, the second button has been converting significantly more, but has been also shown significantly more. That results in $111,000 you made with that test, which means you only your test costs only $9,000, which means that's $36,000 less than with the traditional A/B testing. And because that's the whole math behind it is a little bit of a hassle, I built ABCD. That's a platform I just built for these 5 minutes. Believe me, I spent 4 days on it. And what you do, yes, no lie. What you do is you can sign up for, it's actually a service to set up dynamic A/B tests, and you set up a test, you have a title, you have your options, and that's all you have to do. And in the background on your site, you request an option via an API, you store the option in a session, so the users always sees the same option, and you report back when the option is clicked. And there is an API for that, and what you see is results in real time, which option performs and what not. And yeah, that's ABCD.
Well, that was dead on time. And so now we've just got to squeeze in Daniel talking about bricks, Captain Future, and rap.
Yes. So, hello everyone. You just read the title of my talk. It's going to be a high velocity talk, 36 slides, 5 minutes. So, I'm Daniel, I'm an interaction designer, and I co-host the UX Camp in Switzerland, if you want to go to another conference next year. And most of the last 6 years, I spent my time designing digital experiences for Swiss banks. About 5 years ago, they approached us, actually the IT team approached us to envision how internal software, client advisor software could look and work like in the future. And about 3 years later, after we also redesigned the online banking and mobile banking, I was able to sit in a DEPA meeting room at the Bahnhofstraße and talking with C-level management about online banking for rich private clients. And in this talk, I want to talk about the things that were important to me when I grew up and that helped me now to do better designs. So the first thing I grew up with was Lego. And born in 1976, I love this campaign, Builders of Tomorrow. Lego has a simple framework. It's so easy to learn, so simple to learn, because all these parts, they have a distinction. There's a brick, there's a knob on the top, there's a tube in the bottom, the knob goes into the tube, that's it, that's simple. Using these small elements, you can build up larger things. There's this modularity. You take the bricks, you build modules, and out of those modules, you make like really big constructions. And the nice thing, it's easy to upscale, to downscale. The structures that you build, the modules that you build, they interact with each other, and you can build like really amazing things. So some years later, when I was about 10 years old, was the first time my dad let me use his computer in his office. mid-80s around there. And this was actually one of the first designs, digital designs I did. It was like using the keyboard and the text application he had on it and just using those characters to design a Starship Enterprise. And some years later, you use small elements, you build them together, and you build large websites. And nowadays, everyone's talking about atomic design. You see it again when we build large websites and we document those code-driven interfaces in online style guides and pattern libraries. And still, some of you may know these people. The credits for the photo go to Katrin Christen, who used Lego to build wireframes, and used those wireframes to then do the website. That brings me to the second topic. The second important thing I grew up with, that's Captain Future. And this stands for the TV shows in the 80s, science fiction shows I used to watch in the living room of my grandparents. And it was all about adventure, unknown planets, new worlds. You want to explore those worlds. There was something about the hope that technology might enable us to build great interfaces like speech-driven, voice-driven interfaces that would create instant food. But overall, science fiction for me is about storytelling. Storytelling a possible future that triggers a childlike curiosity. You want to know whether, this is something that will work and something that will be desirable for yourself, this future. As a designer, you should always put two circles overlapping in your slide deck. There's a sweet spot in between academic media and the media of practitioners, design practitioners, that I find quite interesting. You would find those, for example, in old covers of scientific magazines or popular science magazines, like this one from '79. You can see like the ISS, you can see an Apple Watch, you see sustainable houses, 1979. And there are academic courses at the MIT, for example, that teach students to build prototypes out of pulp literature. And here we are again, prototypes. For me, science fiction is like, stories are like prototypes. And we as designers should not only use prototypes to come up with mock-ups and test them for usability, because prototypes are like really a way to tell your clients a possible future about his business. So here we are, business. The last important thing I grew up with was rap. But first, let's look at punk music. I had a discussion with a colleague, and we were talking about design and business, and we found out that designers are like Green Day. That's the amount of anarchy business might take. So you would never expect Sid Vicious on the cover of a Bravo magazine, and you would never expect underground rap music on the MTV stage. So if you want to stand in the limelight, you need to rhyme tight. You need to speak the language of your audience, meaning more people in the room, harder decisions. So you don't want to talk about the color of the button with the CEO. So learn the language. Sometimes frameworks might help. Experiment with your techniques and find your own flow. Join a crew. Consultants love good design, developers love good design, and gestalters love good design. So, wrap up. The most important thing was Lego, Captain Future, Notorious B.I.G. Thank you.